It's available on Amazon as an ebook and also as a hard copy version. Jankiji also has a YouTube channel which has more than 120 videos. The YouTube channel is under the name Team Janki Santok. It has long lectures for an hour plus. It also has short snippets on what Vedanta's view is on everyday issues. And now Jankiji conducts regular weekly classes over Zoom. The ID for that class is the same ID for this lecture. There are details available that you can ask on the chat group later, and we'll put it on the chat about the various classes. There is a new class that starts on 27th of August. It is based on Sri Adi Shankaracharya's Bhajan Govindam. This again is online and on Zoom. You could contact Bharat over WhatsApp if you have any details on any of the announcements that are going to be made today. To ensure that we have a seamless experience on Zoom and YouTube, I would request everyone to be on mute and keep your video off. If you have a question, there is a facility to put it on chat, and time permitting, we will get to every question. Would now request Jankiji to address us today.
Thank you, Deepak. We'll start with a small prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gururev Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Today we have gathered here to celebrate the auspicious occasion which we recently had of Guru Purnima. This is an occasion which is also known as Vyasa Purnima because it is occasion which is the birthday, believed to be the birthday of Vyasa. Vyasa is his padvi, it is not really his name. It is his padvi because he did the vibhajan of the Vedas. Since he separated and codified the Vedas, he came to be known as Vyasa. His real name was Krishna Dvaipayana. Dvaipayana because he was born on a dweep, on an island. His name is Krishna Dvaipayana. He was the son of the sage Parashara and a fisherwoman. All this is also symbolic that the spiritual person is born alone, the quest comes in us alone on an island as it were. It comes out of the combination of the sage, that means the sattva, the intellect, this great capacity in us to think, combined with the quality of a fisherwoman, which is the quality of being exploratory, the capacity to go out into those tumultuous seas and to find out, to get her catch from that. So that these two qualities, the intellect and this capacity to to go and delve into the unknown, to find out what is there, what is the meaning behind everything. That intellectual exploratoriness is what is required, is the birth of really greatness in our life. So it embodies not, it tells us the legend, and it also embodies the qualities that we need to have to grow up to his level. Now this the reason we do this is because we are celebrating a tradition of our country, especially in these times where how much change has taken place over our life. We call it the new normal, not recognizing that new normals have taken place over the centuries. God alone knows how many times. Industrial revolution must have been a new normal. I mean, how many things must have happened in the past that was all the new normals, and today we are in the midst of another new normal. However, in spite of all the changes that are going through, we still have something stable, some continuity, the continuity of our culture. And so here we have this day celebrated for God knows how many centuries in our country, and it's part of the celebration of what is known as the Rishi Run. Rishi Run means we have so many debts on our shoulders. We have so many debts on our shoulders. We come into this world indebted. We have got so much. It is just not funny how much we have got. We are born indebted. We are born like that. And we are indebted to so many things. This is not just a Indian concept, by the way. This is a concept that any great master has understood, that how much we are in receipt. We always think we are in want, but actually we don't recognize how much we are in receipt of things, how much we have got. Even the great Muhammad said that he amongst you is best, who is best at repaying. So that concept, as you grow in sattva, you get that concept of how much I have received. We can always think about all we haven't got. But as sattva grows in us, we start becoming conscious of what we are receiving, and therefore we get the sense of being indebted. And one of our biggest debts is to the rishis of the past. Now, rishi sounds to us like somebody, just wearing some big bun on his head and having a long beard. But rishis are not really that. Rishis are those people who were thinkers, who were disciplined, who came out with knowledge for the welfare and benefit of mankind. And we are those dwarfs today, standing on the shoulders of these great giant intellects who have written this knowledge down for us. Just imagine, and through all the changes, the knowledge of Vedanta continues to hold, continues to be true even today. So can you imagine the capacity of that intellect to be able to hone in onto that one important thing, which will be important through the ages? So giant intellects, they're always referred to as giant intellects. So here is a tradition, we are part of this tradition, and it's part of our Rishi Run to remember our indebtedness to our Guru primarily, and not just to our Guru, but to the entire tradition coming down from time immemorial. We don't even know when this tradition has started. All the rishis of the past who have written down and kept for us this great knowledge. So why is that important? Okay, so why is it important that it's so old? Because just think about it. If for 10,000 years this knowledge has found continuity, why do you think it has found continuity? Because the best intellects of every generation went through it and said, this is worth keeping, let's preserve it. Imagine that filtration process has been coming down to us 10,000 years. That's not a short time, is it? That means the best intellects all over the world, not just India, all over the world. Emerson kept it for us, and Thoreau read it and kept it for us. Everywhere, all over. Max Muller read it and said, no, let's keep this. Everywhere, they read it. And they said, no, let's preserve it, let's keep it. because it's so good, because our future generations will benefit from this, because we and everybody who come after us is going to benefit. So imagine the filtration process that has taken place all this time. Today we have the distilled knowledge, all the very best stuff is here for us to learn. To learn for what? So that our lives can be benefited by the wisdom that came down all these years. That is why we celebrate, we come today to say thank you. Thank you to all those great masters who wrote it down. Thank you to all those great intellects who kept it, who studied it, who lived by it, and thereby preserved it. So thank you. This is our day to say thank you to this great tradition, to all the great masters, and of course to our own Guru, who was the conduit that we could receive this knowledge. So today's topic is ideal student, ideal teacher, ideal student. We're all looking for an ideal teacher. So what are the qualities of an ideal teacher? What makes somebody an ideal teacher? Let's think about it. To think about this, you know what we need first? We need to ask ourselves this question. Why is it that I want a teacher, ideal or otherwise? For what? Because every process of achieving begins with having a goal, a clear goal. Why do you want a teacher? What is the need for a teacher? So why is it that I want a teacher, a guru, on the spiritual path? For which I must know what is it I'm trying to achieve on the spiritual path. Some people come to the spiritual path, they want to achieve wealth. Some people want just mental peace. Some people want to satisfy their intellectual curiosity. You have to ask yourself, what is it I want? If you want wealth, there are plenty of gurus who will tell you over there, okay, do this mantra, do this yagna, do this thing, whatever, do all this thing, pray to me, and you will get wealth. And you may find that, unfortunately, your wealth left more than arrived. So, you must be clear what you want. Now, when you come to the spiritual path, there can be only one goal, only one reason to be here, and that is self-realization. When we are on this path to self-realization, when we are clear that that's our goal, when we are clear that that is what we're here to do, then we can find somebody who is ideal in helping us do that. Right? So we must be clear. Suppose you say, no, self-realization, enlightenment is too high for me to think. You can say, okay, chalo, self-development, self-purification. These are my ideals when I come to the spiritual life. So who will best help me do this is the question I have to ask myself. First I have to ask myself, do I want some help in doing this? It's exactly like if you had a stomachache. Okay, so when you have a stomachache, what will you do? You say, okay, let me fast for one day, or let me have this medicine which I know about, or whatever. And then you do it and you're fine. You don't need to go to the doctor. But you do all this stuff and then you find you're not fine, you've still not got well. Then you do go to a doctor, right? So when you find that you're not able to progress on the spiritual path and in the way to purify yourself as much and in the way you would like to, then you go approach somebody who has done it, who knows about it, and ask them, can you help me please to do this thing? And be specific, this is what you want to do, so that person can tell you, can I help you do this or can I not help you do this? So when I'm here to go on the spiritual path for the purpose of self-development, what kind of a teacher is going to help me do this? Now, fortunately, we're in a tradition, and any question we are likely to ask has already been asked, has already been answered, has already been written down. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 4, verse 34, he has given us the qualities of the ideal teacher and the ideal student. Now, why is it there? Because he has just spoken about how much greater, how much more important it is how much more important Jnana Yajna is than Dravya Yajna. Dravya Yajna means the giving of wealth. Jnana Yajna means the giving of knowledge. So the most important thing he said is the giving of knowledge. Now, how do we give the knowledge? We have to get the knowledge. To get the knowledge, you need some tools, some assistance. So therefore, he went on to tell us, who is this person who is most capable of giving us this knowledge? So, let's see the two qualities he has mentioned in the Gita. Quality number 1, Jnaninaha. And quality number 2, Tattvavit. So, a Jnani and a Tattvavit. These are the two qualities that make somebody an ideal teacher. Okay, I'm going to again repeat. When we are talking about an ideal teacher, we have to understand what have we gone to the teacher for. Okay, so why have we gone there in the spiritual path is for self-purification. So if you are going for self-purification, then two qualities are required in the teacher. Number 1, that he is a Jnani. Number 2, that he is a Tattvavit. So what are these two qualities? Jnani means somebody who is a Shrotriya, who is well versed in the scriptures, who has studied the scriptures. Now you may say, there are so many great sages, they haven't studied the scriptures, so why should he be well studied in the scriptures? Why he should be well studied in the scriptures is exactly the same reason when you go to a doctor, you see his, up there in his, always is given in his clinic, he'll always have this little certificate of his saying that he's done his MBBS. Why does that certificate interest us? Because we know that whatever he's saying is not merely his opinion based on some whim or fancy, but he's actually studied the subject. He's actually gone through a systematic process of knowing what it is. Because the human mind is quite capable of fooling us. Quite capable of fooling us. It can make us feel that we know when we don't. So if you have gone through, so if you know that this person has gone through a systematic study, then you have the capacity to take his or her words a little more seriously. Not only that, the study of the scriptures is very useful from the teacher's point of view because, it is not easy to express the higher truths of life, but somebody has already figured out some methods of doing this. So it's of great use to the person in communicating the truth that that person may have individually also seen. So it just helps the person to be able to talk about something which is so subtle. You yourself may have experienced that in class. Maybe some idea is clear to you, but when you hear it in class, you realize how you can, how you can express that idea. So, first quality of a good teacher is he should be a Jnani. He should be well versed in his subject. The systematic study of a subject, not randomly picked up any book and started reading and then say, okay, now I know it. It doesn't work like that. Then, second quality, Tattvavit. Tattvavit means Tattva, essence, with, the knower of. Someone who is the knower of the essence. Because you could have gone through all the scriptures of the world, but you may not have yet found the truth. So, to the extent that you don't understand what you're talking about, you will not be able to communicate. So, a good teacher is one who not only has the theoretical knowledge, but also has good comprehension of that theoretical knowledge. Because then when they tell you the theoretical knowledge, it comes across to us. We understand this. Now, you may have experienced this also when you hear people read. So somebody who knows a language, you know English, and you read a paragraph, and you read the paragraph understanding what the paragraph says, you add to its comprehension for the hearer. But if you read that paragraph not really understanding what the paragraph says, you actually make it more confusing for the hearer to understand what it is saying. So the two qualities required is the jnanina. Jnani means the knowledgeable person, the one who is studied systematically and properly the scriptures. And second quality required is that he's actually understood it. In the spiritual path, understanding means self-realized. So philosophically, understanding means he lives that life. So he's a tattvavit, he understands it, he lives it. That is him. That is, he is not teaching something that he has learned, he is teaching something that is him. So that's why you can ask a sage any question and the sage probably can answer you, because he's not talking merely from theoretical knowledge, but from a life that he is leading. Okay, so these are the two qualities of an ideal teacher. Then that brings us to another question. Okay, so okay, I know now who's an ideal teacher, but how do I find such a person? How do I know that a person is a jnani and a tattvavit? How is it possible? How is it possible for an ignorant person to tell who is a jnani and who is not a jnani? How is it possible for a person who is not realized to know who is enlightened and who is not enlightened? It's not possible, right? It's not possible even for a poor man to know who is rich and who is not rich. Suppose I live in the same building as Mukesh Ambani. I don't, but suppose I do. For the God, is it really very different? He thinks ये सब building के लोग हैं. He doesn't know there's a difference in Mukesh Ambani and me. So when you don't have a particular talent, when you don't have a particular capacity, it is not possible to tell who has it and who doesn't have it. So in English it's said, only a Milton knows a Milton. Only a Milton knows a Milton. So how are we going to find this great guru? How are we going to find somebody who's actually able to tell us? Somebody who is a jnani, somebody who's a tattvavit, who has studied the scriptures, very well. And not only studied it, okay, chalo, maybe he has a degree and he studied it, but how do you know he's understood it? How do you know that his comprehension is correct? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is we can never know. We can never know who is a tattvavit and who is not a tattvavit. So that brings us to what? It's like, now what do we do? Okay, we figured out that these are his qualities, but we can't assess these qualities. So what do? It almost seems like, तो बताने का फायदा ही क्या हुआ? Why did you tell me when I can't use this knowledge? If the verse ended there, we could have argued like this. But that's not what the verse says. I'm going to tell you what the verse says. The verse says, Tat Vidhi. Tat Vidhi means know this. Tat Vidhi. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Know this, that by pranipatena, by prostration, by pariprashnena, by questioning, sevaya, by service, upadekshanti tam, the wise, the tattvavit, will himself come and stand at your door. You don't go hunting for him. If you do these three things, don't worry about finding the teacher. The teacher will find you. So what are these three things we have to do? We can't find the teacher. Actually, the teacher chooses us. We never choose the teacher because we can't. We don't have the brains to do that. So what do? We find out. We tune ourselves up. So what is this tuning we do to ourselves? Number one, devotion. Devotion is nothing but love. Pranipatena. Pranipatena literally means by prostration. Prostration means when you put your body, straight body, in line with the feet of the teacher, like this. Okay? So he's standing here and this is your body, you put it in line with his feet. That is what is meant by prostration. It's called Shashtang Namaskar. So what is it? Why are you doing that? Because the guru stands on his feet, right? the Guru not only stands on his feet, the Guru stands on truth. So his feet are taken to represent the truth. Now to that truth, I surrender my head and my heart. I bring my head and heart in the same line. I surrender my head and heart to the truth that the Guru represents. That is why I prostrate. So that tells you what is that quality of devotion. Devotion is nothing but love. Love dedicated or directed to something higher. So when your heart and your head, your heart comes in line with that truth, means you have a deep love, a deep respect, a deep, oneness with that truth. You want to surrender yourself to the truth. You want this personality to be subservient to that truth. You understand that truth is higher than me. This is the quality of devotion. So love is the first quality that a good student has. Somebody cannot hear. Can you all hear? Because I've got something on the chat. Yes, Bharat?
Yes, the sound is fine.
The sound is fine? Okay, so Galaxy, on 8, you may need to check your own settings because apparently everyone else can hear. So devotion means love. Love you must have for the teacher. Why should you have love for the teacher? Because when you don't have love, you say, oh my God, I don't know if this person knows anything. And it's that constant suspicion, that constant doubting, that constant wondering. Decide once and for all. Do you believe this person knows more than you? If yes, then now follow. So do whatever the person says. Then you will find out whether he or she knows how to direct this thing. So the first quality is love, because love keeps our mind peaceful, and it is the peaceful mind that allows the intellect to function. When the mind gets agitated with distrust, with doubt, with challenging and all this sort of thing, knowledge can't go in. So the first quality of a student is the capacity to love, to be devoted to the teacher, because that just opens him up to receive knowledge. Receiving knowledge is not easy. It's very difficult to receive knowledge because we already know so much. It's so full in our head, so many things. The moment we hear something, we think of something else. I say, okay, so you said this, but he said that, and that, and that, and that, and that. Like a whole parikrama goes on when you hear something. So when you love the teacher, it just keeps your mind open to take in the knowledge. Okay, so first quality of a good student is the devotion to the teacher. Second quality of a good student, the ideal student, is pariprashnena. Pariprashna means to question. See, when you hear surrender, you feel, oh my God, I must do everything the teacher says. Yes, that is somewhat true. But the second quality is question. Question him. Fight with him. Not fight with him literally, but question. Struggle to understand. The point of questioning is the struggle to understand. The point of questioning is not to challenge. The point of questioning is not to say, I know more than you. Because when you do that kind of thing, you don't learn anything. But when you hear the Guru say something which you don't agree with, you say, no, that I don't know, how can that be true? Then don't say, I don't think you're right, I beg to differ, because that means you close the gates to knowledge. But you say, how can you prove that this is true? Or how about this particular thing? How would that fit into, would it not be contradictory? So the struggle is to understand. And that's where that charitable instinct has to come in. The charitable instinct that says, okay, whether this is well expressed or not, let me understand what is the point here. And this is something we must have with everybody. Are we really paying attention to anybody saying anything? Are we struggling to understand what they are saying? Or are we in a great hurry to speak before they've even finished? So it's interesting that we have to develop these qualities in our own self. How much can you question with the intent to understand, not to disprove, not to challenge, not to mock, but to understand what is this person saying? And if we had that quality, knowledge would be easy for us to gain. We would be able to take things in. Because please remember, the biggest barrier to knowledge is the belief that I already know. What is there for you to tell me? I know many of you all have often shared with me that you tell your family, you tell your friends, come to the class, you learn so much, and then people tell you, उसमें क्या है, मैं बता देता हूँ. So you can imagine that this person has closed the shutters. They are not going to learn anything new. And so what we learn from it is, we should not close our shutters. So we question, to reflect, to understand, to genuinely, to find out what is this person saying, especially when we don't agree, not say I don't agree, but understand what is this person trying to say. Remember that if you agreed with everything your teacher said, then probably you don't need that teacher, because that person is not teaching you anything new. That's your friend, not your teacher. You just agree with everything. So your teacher is bound to tell you things which, when you first hear, the mind's reaction is no, this can't be right. And then you're actually learning something new. Otherwise, all we are doing is repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again in our minds and continuing to live the same life, what we were living. That's not helping. So, what are the qualities of the ideal student? Number 1, prostration, devotion to the teacher. Number 2, questioning. Devotion, surrender is not the opposite of questioning. This whole knowledge of ours is based on questioning. Krishna questioned Arjuna. He questioned the Lord himself. The Upanishads is question and answer between students. In fact, in traditional times, there were no lectures. The teacher didn't give a lecture. They didn't announce, okay, today I'm talking on this topic. The student would go up to the master and ask a question. And the master answered that question. So that's the whole concept of giving knowledge to an adhikari. Tell things to people who want to know them. Why are we telling things to people who don't want to know them? So, 2 qualities we did. Devotion, questioning. And 3rd quality of a good student, of the ideal student, of the student who's going to attract the perfect master, is the quality sevaya. Sevaya means by service, by seva. So when we go to learn, when we go to study, our attitude, just as in all other things, can never be gimme, how much will you give me? This is not the right attitude. But the attitude of what service can I be? How can I help? In olden times, the students would take firewood to the teacher. Because what does a teacher need? Normally teachers have very simple needs in life. So they don't really need that much. So what can you take the teacher? Especially in those days, living in the forest somewhere. Now what are you going to take him? What's the use of taking him diamonds and jewelry? Where is he going to wear that? He has nowhere to go. So they used to take him firewood, because that was a convenience to him, right? That for his Agnihotra or for whatever rituals, he could use that firewood. So that's a convenience to him. So that's how you serve the teacher. You serve the teacher. Now, suppose a teacher has many students now, he'll go mad if everybody serves him. So when we cannot serve the teacher, when we don't have access to the teacher and to be able to serve him, then we serve the cause. We serve the cause as much as we can, because we are training ourselves in the attitude of how can I help? Of what service can I be? That's what we're training ourselves. That is what is self-purification. Losing our concept of my own importance into something higher, nobler, greater than ourselves. And that is what purifies our heart of all the negativity that is there, all the self-centeredness which is there. So, the three qualities of an ideal student are: number one, devotion. Number two, questioning. But the right form of questioning, of course, not the wrong form of questioning. Not out of ego, not out of arrogance, not out of being closed, but out of being open and wanting to learn, struggling to understand the concept. So, question. And the third quality of the perfect student is service. Service of the master and service of his cause. So, what the Gita says is Tatvidhi. Know that. Know what? Know this. That by these three qualities, you will attract to yourself the perfect teacher. The teacher will himself come and stand by your door and teach you. So, these are the qualities of a student that gets the right master. But if the qualities of the student are such that it's all about me, then the kind of master he gets is the master who's also me. Basically, you read about these things in the newspapers. All sorts of stories you will read. And you often wonder, how are these people fooled by this? And then there's only one answer, right? You went to him because you wanted to know how you could get better wealth or better emotional solace or better intellectual curiosity. You just sought that. In other words, you went with the selfish intent. And well, as most selfish intents meet, it meets with an end that agitates us. So when we start the process with an unselfish intent, then what we get is what Gita says, no loss of effort. That's how he describes the path, where there's no loss of effort. Otherwise, in our lives, things are all loss of effort. Put in so much time, so much energy, so much everything into something, और हाथ में रहा क्या? कुछ नहीं, सब चला गया. That's the result of a self-centered life. That's why people who live self-centered lives, at the end of their life, they have this great sense of disappointment. And if you live this unselfish life, you've had a beautiful life throughout, and you feel this great sense of satisfaction. You feel a great sense of satisfaction about life itself. So let us carefully understand what we have spoken of. I'm going to briefly summarize what we spoke about, and if you all have any questions, please put it on the chat, and we'll deal with them as we come on. But first I'm going to do a brief summary. Let me see how many questions there are so that I can... Swapnil has a question. Okay, please write your questions so that I know how much of a summary is needed. Okay, so first we started by talking about Vyasa Purnima, Guru Purnima itself. What are the antecedents of that? It is Vyasa's birthday and something about Vyasa. Then we studied about the tradition, and we do it because of our Rishi Run, because of our debt to the Rishis. Of course, our teacher himself, and not only the teacher, but the entire tradition which has maintained the knowledge. And, excuse me. Then we came to our topic, which was the ideal teacher, ideal student. So how do you find how do you find the what is an ideal teacher? So to know what is an ideal teacher, our first step is to understand, why do I want the teacher? So in this path, the teacher is meant to take us towards self-realization or self-purification. So we start with that. So we have to find somebody who's going to be able to help us with that. Just as a doctor can help us with our ailments, or a health coach can help us with our health needs, or an architect can help us build a house, or a lawyer can help us win a case, or help us with the legality of something. So these people know something which we don't know. And so if we take their help, then we just do it better, because we don't know how to do this. So if they are willing to help us, we are just lucky. So how do we, so who is this ideal teacher? What are we looking for? We're looking for two qualities. Number one is the quality of the jnani. Jnani means he's well versed in the subject. He's had a systematic study of the subject itself. So he knows the subject. And number two, he's a tattvavit. Tattvavit means he has the wisdom of that. It's just not his information, but his wisdom of that. He lives that. That is him. It is not something he has memorized, but something that he himself is. In absolute terms, he is a realized soul. In relative terms, he is a pure and a sharp intellect person. But now our problem is, how will we recognize these two qualities? We don't have them, so how will we recognize them in others? We can't. So since we can't locate them in others, we will have to do something within ourselves to find that person. So what do? We make ourselves an adhikari. We make ourselves a perfect student, the ideal student. And when we make ourselves the ideal student, the perfect teacher will come to us. So what do you do to make yourself an ideal student? Number one, you have devotion, you have love, you have prostration, you have surrender. Surrender only means that I don't know something, and I accept that I don't know it. So I'm not making decisions in areas that are of my ignorance. Means I won't write a legal document myself because I know I don't know it. So if I write that document, I'll get myself into any amount of trouble. I won't prescribe myself antibiotics because I don't know that subject. And if I do prescribe myself antibiotics, I will get into endless trouble. I won't try to knock down a wall in my house on my own, because I may get the whole building into trouble by just saying I don't want this wall. So I will take the help of an architect. Why? So that my life is easier with the knowledge that these people have. So he must be well versed with it, and he must understand it. In our terms, either he is a realized person or a pure person, and I must recognize that. That is called surrender. That means I don't know it and you know it. This is what is surrender. Love means feeling one with the teacher, devotion for the teacher, because that opens our heart out to the knowledge. Otherwise, there's resistance within us to take the knowledge. The second quality of an ideal student is questioning. Questioning with the attitude of understanding. Suppose your teacher tells you something which is, I don't know. Suppose you go to the doctor and you say, oh, I have a knee ache. And he tells you, okay, take this antibiotic. So I say, why for knee ache, antibiotics? So doctor, did you hear? I said knee ache. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you properly. I thought you said headache or stomach ache or something. So question, just to make sure that you both are on the same page. That's all you're questioning for. That has he understood what you have said, and have you understood what he has said? Because you can sort of take off on any point, right? So question, understand. No, not like, oh, I can't say anything in front of the teacher. Why can't you say anything in front of the teacher? Of course you can say. You can, you're not giving up your independent thinking. You're using your independent thinking to understand him. And the third quality of a good student is the capacity to serve the master, serve the cause, and by that unselfish instinct in us, we will learn to purify ourselves. And if we have these three qualities, we need not worry about assessing the teacher. We will hone into the right teacher ourselves. Don't worry about that. So this is about the perfect student and the perfect teacher. Now I'll just take up whatever questions you all may have. Let's see. Swapnil's question is, how do you bring wisdom in the perspective of knowledge? How do you bring wisdom in the perspective of knowledge? Knowledge means the information that a person has. Wisdom means what amount of that information that person has digested. Digested means he lives it. So if I have a rasmalai and I know that that rasmalai has cyanide, when I say understand it has cyanide, it means I won't eat it. If I say, yes, I understand the rasmalai has cyanide, but I'm so tempted to take a bit, that means I've not understood it. So, knowledge is information. Wisdom is digested information. That means you live by it. That means that's how you perceive things. That's how you're going to take decisions. It's not just a matter of what you know in your head, but it's actually your perception of things. That's actually your way of living life. So how do you bring wisdom in the perspective of knowledge? Knowledge is information. Wisdom is digested information, what you live. Okay, Swapna? Then Brinda says, okay, that's not a question. Yash says, please give quality of ideal teacher. Yash, what do you mean, please give quality of ideal teacher? We did 2 qualities, right? I don't understand this. 3 Bharat says, the 3 qualities mentioned indicate that the student himself is of high caliber. How did that knowledge come about? Someone who lacks these, how does he rise? Bharat, you're right that when the student himself is of very high caliber, then his teacher will also be of very high caliber. So how did that knowledge come about? By doing the same thing. The whole path is nothing but love, question and service. So if you do it in the beginning, you will get better than where you are. You do it some more, you'll get even better. You do it more, you get it even better. At every stage of the journey, this is how we improve ourselves. We keep on doing it. So as much improved as we are, we have done this in the past. As much improved as we are going to be depends on how much we are doing of it right now. So the student's caliber determines the teacher also, isn't it? A KG student will get KG class teacher. A PhD student gets a PhD teacher. This is normal. This is just the way things work in this world. So it's the same route all throughout. The same 3 qualities all throughout. Jyoti says, may I know the difference between serving the master and serving the cause with the help of an example? Serving the master is going and pressing his legs, offering him food to eat, I don't know, just serving him, getting him a glass of water, doing something for him. But now if he has so many students and everybody goes and tries to do something for him, he will feel suffocated. So therefore, everybody may not be able to serve the master themselves, like do something directly to the teacher. So what we do is we serve the cause. We all serve the cause. Serve the cause means, let's say he's a Vedanta teacher. So we serve the cause of Vedanta. What can we do to serve Vedantic causes? So all the team here has organized this lecture. So they are serving the cause. Okay, so that's not direct service to the master, but it's a service to the master's cause. Is that okay, Jyoti?
Thank you.
Okay. Anuja, kindly elaborate. Teacher comes to your doorstep. Teacher comes to your doorstep means you will get that teacher. May not literally ring your bell, but that may also happen for all you know. But in other words, you will get it. If you tune up these 3 qualities, if we tune up these 3 qualities, we will get better, right? It's just like saying, if you go from standard 1 to standard 2 and standard 2 to standard 3 and standard 3 to 4 and so on, You need not worry about it. The right teachers will come to you. As you grow, the right teachers will come to you. Shubhrajyoti Roy says, one of my teachers at college told me don't ask any question. Whenever I asked questions, sir used to feel nervous. I felt so dejected. That's really sad because our scriptures are all question and answers. Krishna and Arjuna, question and answers. Upanishads, question and answers. Yoga Vashishta, question and answers. Uddhav Gita, question and answer. Everything is question and answer. So the only way to learn really is by having a question. If you don't have a question, how will you learn? It's the most fundamental way of teaching even a child. In child psychology, they say that when your child asks you a question of anything, dump everything and answer that question, because a window has just opened. Just opened a little bit. And this is your time to get knowledge in. You may tell him the same thing some other time, he won't take it. But now that window has opened, so use it. So questioning is the single most important thing to take in knowledge. Any teacher who tells you don't question is damaging the person's capacity to learn, which is really sad. Okay, Deepak. Sometimes you learn from a Deepak. Sometimes what you learn from a teacher makes you question every premise of one's thinking, in a way shakes foundation on which we stand. At this stage, how can one keep going forward in optimum manner, especially ensuring one's faith and devotion is consistent? Deepak Punwani, isn't it?
That's right.
Okay. Deepak, when you begin questioning the premises of your thinking, and it is shaking the foundation of where one stands, you have to go through with that questioning until you come to some kind of stability. You can't ignore it. You have to sort of come to something. We will not get the full answer, but we must find stability, because if we don't find stability, we can't progress. So that's why different stages of the journey, they give different levels of answers. So when a child asks you, how do you draw a house, then you just like show 4 lines, draw a house. And then suppose a teenager says, how do you draw a line? You show a different house. And an architect asks the same question and you show a different house. So at every stage there's an answer. And we must take that answer as our stable point and move forward from that point. You don't have to ensure one's faith and devotion. You have to find that stability. And as soon as you find the stability, the faith and devotion will just continue. Is that okay?
Yes.
Sangeeta. If you have already met your spiritual master on the bhakti marg, but for want of developing intellect to handle his or her emotion and meet a jnani teacher too, is it okay to follow both? In the process, would the student be lost because the goals of bhakti and jnani are different? Please guide. The goals of the bhakta and the jnani are not different. The goal is the same. The methodology may be different. If you feel that you can adopt both methods, go ahead. If you feel a degree of discomfort, then you must decide which of the two you are going with. It's entirely up to you. PM. Okay. Manoj Yadav. Is it okay to have more than one teacher in path to self-purification? Yes, Manoj, it's okay to have more than one teacher. But then you will come across these situations that Sangeeta just mentioned. What happens if they tell you different things and all that? It is always preferable to have one teacher for one thing. Because now suppose you are following two doctors. Then you get a bit confused now. Shall I do what this one is saying, or shall I do that one is saying, or do I have to do both, or do I have to choose one? And all these stories come about. Even if you were studying mathematics, you would study from one college, one teacher, isn't it? But different topics, yes, you can learn from different people. So if you're doing nutrition with one person, maybe you can do weight training with somebody else. But you can't do weight training with 2 different people because that will just confuse us. Is that okay, Manoj? Okay. If one is constantly in doubt about a teacher's wisdom knowledge, how should it be dealt with? If you're constantly in doubt about a person's knowledge, why are you with that person? You just leave the person, no? Find somebody who you don't doubt. Why should you be in, if you're in, what's the cause of the doubt? Why are you doubting that person so much? Why be with that person? So it doesn't make sense. You have to be with somebody who, it's like saying, should I go to a doctor who I doubt? No, why would you go to a doctor you doubt? There are so many doctors. Go to a doctor who you have confidence in. So if you're constantly in doubt about a teacher's wisdom, I would recommend that you find another teacher. Okay, Reshma? Aditi. Can you also get knowledge through anyone or more general common people who may not necessarily be in the spiritual path, like maybe your house help, carpenter? What if that happens? People that come in our lives and say something one-off that teaches you something. What if that happens often? Do we then look and hear each and every person carefully? Are they our teachers? Yes, of course. Knowledge from any source is a wonderful thing. Why not? You can take it from anywhere. It is available everywhere. But your systematic process should not be, what should I say? You must have a systematic process, and also knowledge can come to you from various sources. Just as when you go to college, you're studying systematically from one teacher, one college, one everything. And of course, you're available to knowledge from other sources. You're not putting on some blindfold of any kind. So yes, everybody can be our teacher. Okay, Brinda. Sanjay Mittal says, okay, Sanjay. Okay, Manoj. Okay, Sangeeta says the goals are different because the Bhakta says, I want to serve the Lord, and Jnani says, Tattvamasi. Yes, that is true, Sangeeta, but we need not worry about it because both agree that self-purification has to take place. Both agree that you have to merge with the Lord. You know, like only that last one tiny thing is different. Everything else is the same, right? Same in the sense, the goal in terms of understanding that it's only through purification of our mind that we are going to see the Lord. There's no difference in that. Now, the only difference they have is when you see the Lord, what are you seeing? But we don't have a difference in terms of the goal, in terms of you have to clean yourself out completely, and what you see is the Lord. Now the Jnani says when you clean yourself completely, you will see that you are God. And the Bhakta says when you clean yourself completely, you will gain darshan of the Lord. These are just different ways of putting it. So it's not really very different. Ayavu says, when I read Vedanta treatise, I understand theoretical and knowledge take place, but it lacks, there is no practical application. Of ancient wisdom in our day-to-day life. How do we convert this knowledge? How do we convert this knowledge? What sadhana do you prescribe? So sadhana is every morning get up and study. The more you think about it, the more the knowledge will be digested and you will live by that. So the most important sadhana is the daily study. To help you with that are classes which you are most welcome to attend, and of course the books are there, Vedanta treatise which you have. As you understand it, you will live it. So what seems theoretical in the beginning, slowly as you keep understanding it, you find that, oh my God, this is actually the right way to live life. So keep on with it, and you will find that it converts itself to wise living. But just understand the concept. Learning study to begin with, and then slowly as you do that, you'll understand what else is required to be done. How can one become more intellectual and gain wisdom? Same answer. PM. Who's PM? Same answer. Morning study. Sorry?
Prasad. PM is Prasad Mule.
Okay, all right. Okay, Prasad. Prasad, same answer. Okay. Yes, same answer. Morning study. That's how you become more intellectual. Yes, Sangeeta, it is possible to do that. To develop intellectually and emotionally is the goal of every human being, isn't it? Surekha, what? I have 28 messages and we are already at 11:31. So I'm going to take Surekha's question as the last one. Which is the quality of the student that refers to effort, sincerity to gain knowledge? All three, Surekha, it is all, when you do all three, that is your sincerity in gaining knowledge. If you do only one of them, that means you're not sincere because you're not taking a balanced view of this whole thing. Should a student attach any value to the aspects of a teacher's personal conduct if not agreeable with the student's value system? No, not at all. Just ignore it. Ignore the personality of the teacher because what the teacher is doing, why the teacher is doing, it's his life and his problem. So we should ignore all these things about the teacher. We should only focus on what helps us learn. Okay, now here. Yashi Ranjan says, sometimes you don't know whether your questions make any sense or not. Should we ask such immature questions to teacher with so much knowledge? Yes, of course. The role of the teacher is to make us learn. So yes, you have to ask every question that that occurs to you, and it's the teacher's job to deal with it. If it's stupid, then the teacher will tell you, you are asking a stupid question, in which case you will know it's stupid. And sometimes the question is not stupid at all. It's a very sensible question, so you will get an answer. Mostly questions aren't stupid. Mostly questions are sensible. Yes, Subrata, that does happen, that people do orient you. I think I've covered everything, isn't it? Okay, I can't see anything else. But then I'm not so good with this. Okay, so then that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, announcement? Yes. Yeah. Bharat has an announcement. Please listen to what he has to say.
Hari Om. Thank you, Jankiji, for an inspiring talk. The knowledge, of course, continues every week through the study classes, as you could see on your screen. For those who are new, please note these. And if you are not on the WhatsApp group and you would like to be part of it, please note the contact number. We are starting a new class, Bhaja Govindam, on 27th of this month. And as a token of gratitude for those who would like to offer Guru Dakshina, the link was shared in the chat. And we wish to see you soon again on Friday next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bharat.